What's going on, friends? We were trying to do this over on Instagram, but I think from now on we're going to be doing it here on YouTube every Saturday about this time. So keep tuning in on that. I'm, of course, Ox. You know me. I've been writing and drawing my own comic for the last 4 years. I never forgot. Along with being part of the hundreds crew that have done the 100 Days of Making Comics, we have started doing anthologies. We were both part of the first book that came out last year, and we're currently working on projects for the second book right now. I will kick it over to Yann and let him introduce himself and all that he's been working on as well.
Hey everyone, I'm Yann. I go by the name of Yannimal here on YouTube and on Instagram, where you can follow us as well. And I'm working on my little sci-fi adventure comic book called Phosphor. I have been for some time. I've done about 2.5 100 Days of Making Comics. And right now, besides page 15, which I've been working on today, I'm also working on my 4-page story for the next anthology comic book that is coming sometime this summer, I believe.
Yeah, I think we're planning on doing the Kickstarter for it either May or June, I believe. So yeah. Hopefully get it printed up by the middle of the year and get it out to everybody by July, hopefully. Because I think we have a member that's going to SDCC in San Diego, obviously, and setting up. So it'd be cool to have our books at his table as well. So
yes.
Yeah, so how's your art week looking this past week?
So this week, I kind of ran into the same trouble as I did last week, where, I just had a lot of paperwork to do after work. However, I did manage to finish this page right here. This is, I finally did the actual counting. This is page number 14 of Phosphor. So this one had been lying around for a little bit, and it was really this bottom panel that was the most daunting with all the characters. And I'm very happy with how it came out. I like how, there's I managed to balance the page out. Like there's tons of detail over here, and then over here, there's a very good reason for them to be in silhouette because they're standing in front of a large screen, but it kind of works well on the page overall. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this one came out. And then right after that, I pulled out page 15. I'm actually quite pleased with how this came out way back when, this Rough Inks version. Boy, the glare.
Yeah, because you did that, 2 years ago now?
No. This was like in the last year. Not that bad.
Oh, yeah.
This was last year.
You say bad. I still think that's very good, and I'd still throw that out.
So this one, I don't know how well this is going to show up. So let's just test this out. So if I just flip the camera, because I've got the blue pencils right here. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of a size difference here. And then I have been working on...
You did that first version all digital, didn't you?
This is all Photoshop, actually. Just very rough Photoshop. And it was mostly to pin down, just to get the composition down from the sketch, and then make sure that for once I actually work out all the dialogue beforehand and the positioning of the balloons. And then now I want to make the actual finalized. Oh, is this going right? Finalized art, but I don't. Can you guys see this or?
Yeah, it's faint, but yeah, we can make it out.
Yeah, so it's blue pencil, so it's intentionally light. This is the last panel I was just working on. And so almost the entire page is here.
That's bad.
So hopefully I can start inking on this one. Well, either tonight or tomorrow. But it's gonna be a tough one. I just realized I can have fun. There's a really good light source in because of the light outside the ship.
Mm.
So I get to have this like dramatic like cast shadow of the windows, the frame of the windows across his face and everything. And I'm really excited about drawing that, but at the same time, it's like I'm gonna have to sit down for this one, like not to mess it up. Make sure that the directions and everything is correct, and like all the texturing and like so we get to pull out the brushes and the quill. I just bought some new pens, so I've got some new Stetlers, which I'm very fond of. I've also discovered that there's another art supply store not too far from here, and they're actually €1 more expensive. The same pens. So that's a big, it's like 30%
Oh,
more. Yeah, just it's the same pen. Just it's literally like 2 blocks from the other store. So it's like what? So yeah, stock up Stettler pens. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
oh yeah.
One page done, another one already in blue pencil, about 90%, and then it's time to ink and also tomorrow I will be working on where is it? Page 3.
Three.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
page 3 of the anthology, which is going to be a little tricky because I've been making a lot of changes as I went along on page 2, which is really fun. Like like making sure the story works well within 4 pages. Kind of having to let go of some very fond story beats of the original, which is always painful. But now I'll probably have to rework page 3 because the page 4 remains the ending and like this little twist at the ending that all stays, but like how to get there, I'm gonna have to rework page 3. So, and I take a long time with
Well,
dialogue, I've noticed. So, yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just about in the same spot I was last week. I finished up inking page 2.
Yeah.
So we got. I love these little. I gave credit to Gaz and Kevin for using their creatures for this costume party. But that's as far as I've gotten on the anthology story. Because I spent most of my week trying to hammer out details for um, this character in one of my other stories. And so this was back in February. I drew up Optimus Prime because I'm using him as reference
Yeah.
for my version, that Sharktimus Prime, which is basically Optimus with a shark fin. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do his face, but so this is a sketch from last year, and it's Zoid, and I want to of mixing of the two, because as much as I love Optimus's front the basic front cab over design,
Yeah.
I want to do something that brings it to like nowish times, like the future a little bit.
Okay.
So I started with giving him like um, hover wheels where his tracks would be on the ground if he's just driving along or like parking or whatnot, but like they go in like the DeLorean, I would say,
Okay.
and it can hover.
The future DeLorean.
Yeah, the future DeLorean.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I'm kind of playing around with it. I busted out Procreate earlier and was just toying around. So here is, I'm doubting you can see that very well.
Yeah,
So
I
here's
can.
just the rough design. Um, so that's
Oh, cool.
kind of a design that I'm looking for, or like I swapped that out and kind of with the more traditional with Optimus with the shark fin. So I don't know. I've got to find somewhere a happy medium between the two, but
Do you want to
I've been
like
banging my head on that most of the week.
do you want to do like an actual mouth with actual teeth or
See, I'm trying to figure out that because I almost want to give him almost a snout, but it's hard to draw that just having no reference or anything that I can go off of. At least the angle of what I want to draw. So it's hard because I want to kind of give him a little snout, but also if you look at semis from that era, they have this ridiculous grill guard that just has teeth on it. So I don't know if I want to use that kind of reference and just have him have kind of a shark body when he
Mhm.
transforms. So I don't
What
know. It's
about what
it's
about like
difficult just to try and sketch it and figure out what I want to do. So
well, it's just like what about like the kind of shark mouth they would draw on planes in World War II?
see, I was thinking that too. I think I'll probably go with just the open jaw grill guard for when
Okay.
he's in the actual mode. But I could see doing the shark teeth along the running boards, and like it'd be cool to have him have that for his chest piece. Because I think I want to give him like an almost Jaws from Bond villain esque jaw with that giant
Mm.
metal jaw on the bottom.
Uh,
So I don't know. It's just a real pain in the neck trying. Like I've never done character models before starting a story. Well, I guess I did with the one last fall, but um, just kind of rough sketches designed. But this is something I really kind of want to draw out. So getting this design nailed down, because all the other characters are basically from other pop culture or whatever. Because you have
mhm.
Blanca, Pikachu, and Captain America for the most
Okay.
part. So this is my own design, so I've kind of got to bang on it and make sure it looks good before I can attempt to draw it many times. So it's just a pain in my neck, and it
Yeah.
sucks because now it's a week later and I'm almost no further on the anthology story. Like I only have 2 pages to go, and that shouldn't take much time, but time's dwindling at this point. I think we have
Yes.
about 3 weeks left, so I gotta
27 days.
really
Yeah.
start.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm gonna sit with that this week and get those 2 pages knocked out before I go back to trying to fight with this whole semi design. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's time to prioritize because they have to like the pages have to not only be done but like formatted and shipped off
Mhm.
to Mike and the others to go over them. So it's gonna be tight.
It's
I'll get there.
a fun balance. We're trying
Yeah.
to now. You don't have to ship him the pages, do you?
No, but I mean like because I don't have access to my computer right now, so there's the action the extra organizing of like getting access to one, getting it ready,
Ah,
USB
I
sticks, old school,
got you. Fair enough.
we'll get
Fair enough.
there. Yeah.
So, you got any other things you're trying to fight with this next week going forward?
This next week, like art wise, not really.
Yeah.
I'm really just in a bit of a change at work with a new project that is just a lot more taxing. So I'm just a lot more tired after work. I've just found that. Um, so that's the main thing. Because otherwise,
Uh,
because normally I get to draw at work, and now I just don't have the time to do that. So to then come home tired and have to start up, whereas before I was ready to go because I'd already been like practicing at work and like just warming up the hands for a couple
Hmm.
hours. So I missed that, but that's the only
Yeah.
thing really. It's just a matter of time. So, but I have time. I just have to sit down, and I can be fast. So
Nice. Yeah, I'm kind of getting caught up between a few different things. Like, for random, we're watching a bunch of things that, like, on top of Battlestar Galactica, 5 episodes of that, we've got like 3 or 4 movies we're doing for this week,
yeah,
and that seems to be about normal for the past month or so. So I'm trying to carve out like a good 20 hours for that alongside doing my art and daily sketches, and then on top of all that, trying to get these projects sorted out. Like, I've definitely got to bunker down and get the anthology done this week so
hmm
I can move forward with getting my free comic book day comic done up. I think I'm going to actually quick letter the comic book me and Luke did last year. Like, I think I'm
yeah,
just gonna go ahead, go forward with it, like letter it pretty simply, and then get it done and like give that away as well. But the yeah, those are the main things on my plate right now. And considering it's middle of March, I've basically done by the end of March, so I can get it off to the printer and get it back in time for May. So it's a real run around right now.
yeah. No Comic Cons in
So I think.
between.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's another thing. Is so we've got a couple of doctor appointments I've got to take my parents to.
hmm
Thursday, I will actually be selling my comics at the bar for the monthly endeavor.
hmm
And then Saturday, I'm actually doing a small con in our capital of Iowa. So
Which
that'll
is
be a whole day endeavor. Des Moines,
Des
Iowa.
Moines. Yeah.
On top of all the time I lost this week is because um, that huge weather storm we've had the last few weeks
hmm
that dumped a good couple feet of snow. It's finally now in its 40s and everything is melting, and there's nowhere for all the ice and water to go. So
So what's happening?
I think Wednesday night, I was running around like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to find sandbags and everything because
Oh, geez.
um, our building that we live in,
Yeah.
like, is in the lowest plot of the land right now. So like
Ah,
the all the water was pooling around the building, and
yeah.
like we have hallways to get to our apartment, and like I looked out the back door of this hallway, and like we had probably half a foot of water standing the whole way around the building, and like it was nervousness because it was starting to soak into the carpet, like right inside
Yeah.
the door and everything, and trying to find sandbags to keep it at bay and everything like that. Like, lost a whole day trying to figure out that whole situation, and thankfully it found a way to drain itself, and well, it was over in a few hours, but just nervous trying to
Yeah.
see what it would do and everything like that. So what a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah.
And
I can imagine like some people will be inundated if there's so much snow to go around.
yeah, for I think half the week, a good, like, wherever the rivers are,
hmm
there's massive portions of the roads that are covered with water, and like they're just having to close entire roads
Yeah.
and like trying to find detours. But even you can't detour too easily because since the water's over the roads in some parts, it's wreaking havoc on the gravel roads and like splitting them because like all the ice is soaked in, and like now that's disappear or that now that's melting, like it's leaving like big ravines and like gravel roads and shit like that. So it's a real mess.
Yeah. I can only imagine. Over here, it's already feeling like I wouldn't quite say summer, but like this week, it's definitely very nice spring weather. No more jacket.
I'm so grateful to have 40s again,
Yeah,
and like it feels like such a heat wave compared to what we've had the last 2 months. So I'll take it.
yeah,
But yeah.
crazy weather, man.
So on to the other thing we are
Mhm.
going to be discussing this week. Netflix's new robot anthology series just dropped yesterday, I believe. It's called Love, Death, and Robots. It's 18 different episodes, all themed around robots, basically. And so we watched the first three,
Yes.
and we're going to kind of discuss that. So, spoilers for these first three, but all of them are so unique that I don't think you're going to be spoiled too much.
True.
Also, there's a lot of them that are like 6 to 10 minutes. Like I say anthology because it's a real mixed bag of all these different creators that have made these little stories. And I was surprised when I've got the email from Netflix yesterday because they were very adamant about it being a not safe for work series, and it's strange to see that on Netflix. And
Yeah.
as soon as you get into it, you know why. Like there's really a lot of gore and violence, as well
Yeah.
as definitely not safe for work graphics on screen. So yeah, what do you think about the first three?
Well, first of all, like animation wise, the level of quality is like way up there. Like the first three that we watched, they're quite different. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't quite say like because in animation, of course, like drawing, you can go in any direction, as Spider-Verse showed this year as well. Um, so the first one reminded me a lot of like very high-end video games, like the presentation and a little bit of what it was about because there was some fighting and violence and creature design. A lot of the lighting reminded me a lot of video games, but in a good way. Like because some video games these days are just absolutely incredible what they do with their art design. Um, but also a little bit in like I wouldn't quite say content, but like there's something about like the way the breaks come off in video game storytelling a lot of times that feel like B movies, but they're not beholden to all of the same tropes or all of the same rules and regulation. I don't really want to say regulation, but like I can imagine that, like if you're a filmmaker, there's just so much more history behind film and uh, television when it comes to what you can and cannot get away with and what you kind of have to like, put out there. And so in this kind of reminded me of that. Like sometimes video games really break norms with storytelling or content. And this definitely that went that way as well. Like there was definitely some storytelling and content and violence where I was like, whoa, okay, that went quite a bit further than I expected from Netflix, like quite a lot further than I expected. But it wasn't
Yeah,
bad in any way. It was just I just kind of had to like adjust, you know what I mean? Like I just kind of had to be like,
mm-hmm.
okay, so we can go there. Okay, so let's see what you got. And it did not disappoint. The first one I thought was absolutely amazing. Like
Oh
the
yeah, for
world they
sure.
created, and I have to say, like I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was getting into. So I was actually under the impression of the first one that this was episode one of a series. So I was like,
Mhm.
yes, like I want to see what this world is about and like these characters and like, oh wait, that was it. So I was when I hit the second episode, which I also thought was amazing, but it was a complete shift in tone. It was a lot more, even though there's some swearing, um, it's a lot more PG-13. Like it's a lot,
Yeah, yeah.
a lot more. I don't quite want to say all ages, but like it's a lot friendlier. Um, so yeah, so that was a bit of a like hitting the brakes very hard for me because I got really into episode one. Um, yeah, some of the visuals in one are like the fight scenes and everything. It was just incredible, just absolutely incredible. The second one, what did you think of the second one?
Going back to the first one, absolutely
Okay,
loved
all
it.
right,
Like, I think
yeah,
it set such a high bar
yeah,
for this series. And like I caught glimpses of the trailer for it and whatnot, but I want to say the first one is probably the longest. I see another few 16 to 17s, but like, yeah, starting out the gate strong with that very long episode. But also, this goes into play with what we're dealing with is like trying to shorten up a story and telling a really short but realistic story. And like, this put all the pieces together so well. And like,
yeah,
the fight scene itself was awesome. And like,
yeah,
there are a couple twists that I wasn't expecting. And just in the fight alone, like, these two creatures going after each other, like, they did a great job of hiding these little details. So yeah, I loved how it came together, and like, I was hoping to see a little carryover from episode to episode, but as soon as we got in the second one, I knew they weren't going to be the same,
yeah,
but similar. But the high quality, like, it's incredible, the production value
yeah.
of the. I think I just looked it up on IMDb. Is like there's 6 different writers that did all these 18 episodes, and then they just
Okay.
gave them to different directors and whatnot to figure out how they wanted to do it. The second one was pretty surprising. Did you see the trailer for Toy Story 4 with Keenan and Kel? Or
There's a Toy Story 4? No?
Keenan and Peele? Yeah, they announced it a few months ago, but the first teaser for it is just these two toys voiced by Key and Peele, and they're
Really?
just like kind of just talking about the movies previously, and like they're kind of heckling Woody and Buzz Lightyear, and then they show up and they're like they don't realize it's them and they're just making fun of them. So it's really funny. You should definitely check it out. But the
Ah,
second episode reminded me a lot like that. So definitely check out that one because for being a third of that time, kind of gives you that same vibe. But yeah, I really dug the second one as well. I figured it was going to like there would be humans at some point along the way.
mhm.
But then when the cats showed up and like they were describing what humanity did to itself to put itself in that position, and then the through points of that. I love the different robot designs.
Yes.
Considering one was human like, one was like kind of
A metronome.
a robot that helped other, yeah, and then it gave that metronome like Dalek style, but like they were all very unique to their own type of mechanics. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
and
dug
they
it.
clear like in the story they actually hinted at and made clear that they come from a long line of robots that serve a very particular role in society. I thought that was really smart, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Like the whole lineage. Like I thought like there was so many like in all three of them there's just so much detail in the world itself in such a short amount of time that you can just
yeah,
pick up on. It's just very well done, and the voice acting as well. We haven't, I mean, we've spoken about production values, but like the voice acting in all of them is like is also like a notch above, you know? Because I didn't
yeah,
know it was
absolutely.
like only
I
six
think,
writers for all of them.
yeah, I'm surprised on how uh, Netflix is kind of hitting its stride with because they're really leaning into their own original content, and this being one of them. Like, I was surprised on the value, the production value of the whole thing. Like, just kind of blown away. And then we get into the third episode, which I think the third one was definitely my favorite. Just it had that feel of Into the Spider-Verse, and like even when they
Yes,
did the writing across the screen and whatnot. So yeah, I'm so in love with the series, and I'm looking forward to just probably binging straight through it
yeah.
this weekend. So
The third one, like visually, it's like it was the most exciting one for me. Like there was just something about it where I was constantly like guessing, like, how did they do this? Like, is this actually animated, or did they use like live action and then paint it on top of that, or like, because there's so much like movement of the camera, like it's so well
mhm,
done. Like I love how things move around, um, and then how it has that like it's like this stylized computer graphic look, but at the same time it doesn't. Like it's very hard to pin down, but it's very beautiful.
mhm.
The story is definitely this is definitely
It's
the
so
story that is not
interesting
safe for.
because like because the
Yeah.
first two have a lot of dialogue between characters and whatnot, and
Yes.
but that third one doesn't have barely any of it, and like even the dialogue that they say doesn't matter because they're doing such a great job of
Yeah.
showing everything that's going on rather than telling. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just blown away.
The third one very much felt like an art project. You know, like we wanna do a short film, but we only have time and room for so much, and we're just gonna focus on this feeling that you're gonna get, and it's gonna be a rush, and like that's kind of it. And there is some dialogue, but they could have even left that out. Like you wouldn't have missed
Yeah,
anything. Um, but yeah,
I think it
like
would have been. I think it'd be interesting to see that episode 3 with like if you take out the dialogue and
yeah,
then just put like some classical music over it, I think it would still hold the attention that this
yes,
one demanded. And
yeah,
like it would just be this rush of adrenaline and you're trying to catch your breath for these characters you're
yeah,
keeping pace with. It's insane. So I loved
yeah.
it.
It's good. Um, Story wise, it was definitely like it definitely caught me off guard at some point where I was like what are we doing in an animation right now? So
Yeah.
not in a bad way, but it was definitely this is definitely not the one to watch with your kids. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was very surprised at that considering Netflix most of Netflix's or context like I, from working at Blockbuster back in the
Yeah.
early 2000s, like we would never. It would be very difficult to get past rated every unrated versions of movies in
Mhm.
Blockbuster. So like going, that's kind of the mindset of Netflix
Yeah.
to where we get into these graphic and violent and very adult situations like it seems so out of the norm, and it seems like
Yeah.
the series is just going to be awesome
Yeah.
considering the
But
fan base of anime right now. So
yeah, but that's actually a pretty good point because like how do they because how does that work then with Netflix? Like do they have age ratings that they keep within the app?
I did notice when each episode started, there was a different age rating. I think it was PG-13 for the second one, but I noticed the third one it was definitely MA for mature.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but how do they like is there actually like other age restrictions within the app that they lock this content out for kids or no?
So I think if it has the mature rating, it wouldn't
Hmm.
be available for the kids side of it.
Hmm.
But I think that's about the only way you can lock it out.
Yeah.
Um, I can't. I don't think they're beholden to regular regulations since it's not
Okay.
going on physical media, so you don't have to regulate it quite as much. But I think that's more so on the
True.
parent regulating it. So.
Yeah, I mean that is true, but then at the same time,
But I think they're
just a quick.
definitely going to be locking this one down because I mean, from the couple of posters I've seen, NSFW is like just littered across it. Like I think they definitely want to know parents to know that this isn't for younger audiences,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also this is not their
But it's really,
normal
I mean,
situation
like,
that they'd put
yeah,
out.
like
So.
the whole not younger audiences, and like this does, like, there's definitely, because earlier I brought up this like analog with like video games and like stories of video games, and like when something is mature content in video games, it's rarely actual mature content. It simply means
Mhm.
there's a lot of swearing, there's a lot of violence, and it can get very graphic, and there might be nudity, and like that is so far that is kind of what we got here as well. And I think
Yeah.
it's, for the most part, it's done pretty well. But I can imagine that, like because we talk about like not safe for work or mature. Like I can imagine that, um, if you're an adult, like you might be expecting something else. Like this is more like along the lines of mature content in video games. I find, like, I really got that
Mhm.
vibe from it so far. So,
Yeah, yeah, for
but
sure.
if this is the level of quality they're going for, um, in the first three episodes, like I have to watch everything. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
it bodes well.
Yeah.
It bodes well for the
Um,
future of animation, because Spider-Verse, like I'm very glad to see that they can put this on a streaming service, because Spider-Verse for me was like, wow, have I not been keeping up with animation? Because my mind was just blown, like the level of quality, you know?
no, for sure.
So,
Into the Spider Verse was such a out of left field because if you look at the big ones from last year, we had Incredibles 2 that looked
yeah,
exactly like it did in the early 2000s.
yeah.
Um, I'm trying to think of. I think there was only two other animated. Oh, you had Wreck-It Ralph that looked exactly like Wreck-It Ralph one.
Oh,
Um,
I haven't seen that one.
and like Isle of Dogs. Isle of Dogs was a little bit different, but really good. Um, God, and there was another one that I can't think of. But like Into the Spider Verse was so far and beyond anything I've seen over the last 3 or 4 years. Like I'd say maybe like Kubo with its stop motion kind of came out of nowhere. Was the same way with this, and even Kubo was on the frame of like Coraline and Box Trolls and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
it definitely had predecessors, but I think Into the Spider Verse really swung for the fences and they nailed it. To the point, I think the animation style is copyrighted by Sony. I'm pretty sure, which is stellar
I
because
you can
I just
copyright an
want more
animation
movies like that.
style. I didn't know you could do that.
I think they're trying to before it gets out.
But
I
what
think it's
what
the way the computer generated a few of this that they are trying to lock down because I think Square Enix was able to do that back when they did Spirits Within in early 2000s. So,
wow, like I didn't know you could do that. You can, I mean, imagine if they do that
oh,
within
listen,
comics.
us Americans can figure out anything and how to lock it down to try and keep all the money we could possibly make from the thing.
Well, you say that, but you know, we have Heineken from my country, and back in the 1920s, they already patented the biological, like, molecular chain that gives Heineken its flavor. And so nowadays, people start freaking out about like patents on DNA, you know, because of all these medical, all this research, and like they're like, oh, we discovered it, we patented it. Now you can't, no one else gets to make medicine for that, right? But Heineken actually started that in the 1920s, just so you know.
I believe it. I think it's more along the lines that you guys may have started it, but it was definitely like Disney and Mickey Mouse that like kind of locked down that whole situation and like because I think after 7 years of having a copyright, it goes into public use or fair use, public use, whatever.
No,
But
I
like
think it's a lot longer than
Mickey
that.
Mouse, well, no, 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 because Mickey Mouse has like extended that for like 60, 70 years at this point, like
Yeah,
from like different laws and everything that they've put into motion and things like that.
I've
So
never quite understood,
there's
like,
ways
because,
to hold on to that.
yeah, because I never quite understood it. Like I know you should have the right to profit from your invention like during your lifetime up until a certain point. But then in music, you have this situation where you have all these family trusts, like for Elvis Presley, for Jimi Hendrix, Michael Jackson. And these people, they're not, because you'd expect at least Elvis and the Beatles to be in the public domain right now, but they're not. They just keep
Oh
going.
yeah.
So
It's such a gray area, but it's also really cool to see like so many artists being inspired by Into the Spider-Verse, and they're like
yeah,
trying to mimic that style, and they get around things like that just because
yeah,
like
they should.
they aren't they aren't necessarily doing it for profit. They're doing it more for like learning experience, and then they want to create something with that, and
Of
it's
course.
so
But I
cool the
mean,
world we have right now.
yeah. But I mean that's always the way things go, right? I mean, like imagine if comic book artists could have copyrighted their style, you know?
That's just so much more than I want to deal with.
Yeah, but
Like
like
considering how much
imagine
we've
that.
grown as artists over these last 3-4 years, like could you imagine like copywriting your style every single year? It's like that's too
Mm,
daunting of a task,
no,
and plus you'll never go back to it. So
I wasn't even thinking of that, like for us, but I'm thinking like imagine like like there's so many copycats in video games and comics, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, you know. So, but
mhm.
imagine like being a popular artist and simply saying like, "Oh, the way I draw Spider-Man webbing, like you can't, like no one else is allowed to draw it this way because that's my style, right?" Like there'd be
Yeah,
no progression in
that's
that
crazy.
sense.
Oh, absolutely. I think it mainly comes from people trying to find their own voice and like draw something specifically in their own style. That like you get all that great variations and everything. But like the iconic Spidey spaghetti, where it's like the three lines and then the three lines like this. Um, I think that was
Yeah, as
yeah,
far as I know,
it's wild.
McFarlane and then Eric Larson and
if
then
we're
everyone.
totally wrong, let us know in the comments because I'm sure I could easily get that wrong. But
I'm pretty sure it
yeah,
was
there's
top.
such great little things like that. So
Yeah.
very cool. So I don't know. I think that'll wrap it on the show. I kind of want to
You've
get
not
back
read
to.
anything?
I haven't. I've been. Did I read anything this week? No. Tank Girl would have been the last thing I read.
Okay.
I got a few extra comics, like Dark Frontier. On Wednesday came out with their fourth issue on Comixology, so
Mhm.
I've yet to read that. But yeah, with all the mess this week, like I've just been stalling, trying to find some time for all this. So,
Yeah.
what
I've
about
just been
you?
reading
You
the
read
same
anything?
series. Just the same series. Like I read another issue of Venom, another couple of X Factor. Um, Started reading a Spider-Man comic book because of an Arthur Adams cover. That's always a good trick to get me to read anything.
So
um,
he only did the cover, like he didn't do interior art.
yeah, he did the cover. I'm like, wow, that's a really cool cover. And then I started reading it and just, I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna read this now. But that one, it was just, yeah, it was funny. It was funny reading that, and I managed to listen to some more off-panel podcasts, and I managed to listen to the. I don't know if you listen to those guys.
Yeah,
I've I've been finding like there's some really good shows on YouTube on comics and like particular
yeah.
storylines, and like I've always kind of stayed away from them. Like like if I'm not gonna buy those comics, and now more and more I just find myself like I just want to hear what they have to say, like what's going on in the world of comics, right? um
I really
but there
love
was
the off-panel. Those are the sketched podcasts, right?
Yes, at least that's how they started, I think.
Yeah. I think it was the first like I haven't gotten through like the first 10, I think, or so, but like
Mhm.
Matt. Let me see if I can't murder his name. I want to say it's Matt Machkowski, which is completely wrong, I'm sure. But does this great, like, I love the interviews because they're not necessarily all about comics. It's kind of like a look in the life of these awesome artists.
Yeah.
Dang it, I don't have it on this phone, but yeah, I love checking those out. Especially, I think I've checked out a few of Sean Gordon Murphy ones, where
Yes.
he's just kind of just like different stories and experiences that he's gained over the years, and like how he came into making comics. I think that's one of my favorite stories so far. Is like he just kind of had this idea and kind of put it out there, and the universe answered him. So, and like there's been a lot of times that he should have been in trouble, but kind of got off scot free. So
That's cool. Yeah,
check
the ones that always stand out to me of off panel are the ones where they interview shopkeepers or people who just work behind the scenes at publishing houses. You know, like I don't know, like there's just so much about the comic books as an industry that I know nothing about, and that it's just fascinating to hear like how these people go about like setting up a publishing firm, for example. Like there's these new smaller companies that only do graphic novels in the States, and like to just hear them think like, oh, we just want to like put out a book for kids, but like for all kinds of kids, not just superheroes. Like we want to do all sorts of books that people otherwise wouldn't be able to read, and then talk about like
yeah.
and like hitting, making sure that they're in libraries because that's where a lot of kids tend to find their first comics, right? And like, but just the thinking behind it, and that these are people who started out as artists and then kind of found themselves like doing something different in the industry rather than making their own books. But it was just really fascinating, you know. So yeah,
That's rad.
it's cool stuff.
That means I gotta get caught up on those podcasts. So good deal.
Yeah, yeah. It's just fascinating. It's not just like social media or marketing, which is tends to be the other subject. You know, for us artists, like you know, how do you get in? Uh, like how do you promote yourself? But this was much more like, well, we're in now. What you know?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk from that he has quite a few interviews with shopkeepers, which is just like when they talk about the big two and what they do to their comics or merchandising and how that is how they stay afloat and like building a community because they realize
Okay.
like you know like if you want people to show up at your shop like they should be there for more than just comics, you know, and just growing this community of people who love comics that it's a thing that you know just check out from time to time. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think following his Patreon that he has going on right now, like even as a follower, I think every at the end of every month, like he's like has a top 10 of everything he liked and disliked about the like comic world over this past month, and like those are
Yeah,
fascinating. Especially he keeps tabs on like what the selling market is like, um, things Marvel is doing that could kind of upset the balance or help
yeah,
and whatnot. Things like that, like just little details that you might not think about, and like he's just on the pulse of everything. So yeah, highly recommended checking out his. I want to say it's off panel Patreon. Let me double
yes,
check.
off panel.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
the
So check
Patreon,
that
I'm not
out
sure,
for
but the
sure.
podcast is definitely called off panel.
Yeah, it is. It's off panel, and then it has sketched. So same guy.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that'll do it for the show then.
I think so. I think we're there. Have we been talking for an
Right
hour?
on.
That seems to be our mark these days.
It's got to be close. So yeah, planning on getting the anthology done for next week. Maybe a couple pages for the free comic book day. But it's going to be a fight because of all the different various things I had to do this week as well. So we'll look forward to that. How about you? What are you planning on getting done?
This page, hopefully this weekend, and then on to page 3 for the anthology. I also want to have another episode of Sketchalona up. It's pretty much edited. The soundtrack is in place. I just need to do some more voiceovers and tighten things up. But it was quite an undertaking because I shot way too much footage when I was over in Singapore. So, and like to rework, like, oh, where was that shot that I took, and to rearrange it, and like it's fun, but it's been time consuming. But I want to get that out. And while I have you here, I need your help finishing up another video.
Ooh, I do need to get those recorded, don't I?
Yeah.
Yes. I will knock those out this afternoon and get them sent off to you.
Of
so
course,
you
it's
can
still
throw
afternoon
those
for you.
together as well.
That'd be cool.
So by the end of the weekend, you should definitely have those. So look forward to Yann having about a couple videos out this week. Oh, there's a rush now, sir. So yeah, we'll check you guys out next weekend. It might have to be Sunday, maybe a little earlier because I'll be gone Saturday. So I don't know.
Cool.
We'll figure it out. But we'll throw up some details around the internet. So be following us all on social media, and you'll find out just where we are. So we'll catch you guys later. Peace. All that good stuff.